Welcome to another episode of Stumbling and Fumbling. My name's Arjun, and I have my friend Appy with me. We are friends from college. We studied in India, and now we work in Toronto. We talk about anything under the sun. Our discussions are unscripted, unedited. We just think of a topic and we chat. Appy, let's talk about something that's really, really close to my heart
What are you
because
thinking about?
I am a foodie.
Okay.
Sorry, what's that? Yeah. So I'm a foodie and I think you like a lot of good food too. Let's talk about street food in India.
hmm
So I'll let you start the discussion. You have lived in multiple cities in the country, and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's I've never thought about it, but yeah, for sure. I've really enjoyed food in various cities and I so my thoughts would be that every single city has its own charm if you think about food. So Calcutta has its own charm and so does Bombay, so does Delhi. You go down south, it has its own sets of delicacies. Mm, so I look forward to eating some of those local food whenever I visit any of those cities.
Yeah, that I agree with that. I've lived in a few cities. I've lived in Calcutta, I've lived in Aurangabad, I've lived in Delhi for a little bit, but not in a lot of other cities. So let's start with Calcutta. You spent a considerable number of years in Calcutta, and I've spent a big part of my life there. And one of my favorite types of street food is puchka, what you call golgappa in Delhi, and pani puri in Bombay. Although there are subtle differences, but I really like puchka. And my philosophy is the dirtier the better.
Oh,
You cannot
wow.
have sanitized, clean fuchka with mineral water. Uh, what are your thoughts on fuchka?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I like fuchka and I like to make it like a little spicy. So, to the extent that sometimes you'll have tears in your eyes while you are trying to eat it. It's awesome. I've eaten a lot of fuchka in Calcutta, lots and lots of it in Jamshedpur. What really happens is if you start going west, which is towards Mumbai, the spice level, I don't know why, the spice level turns slowly towards sweetness level. I'm not saying that it's sweet as sugar, but you will find that to be a little bit on the sweeter side.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think it might have to do with the water, like the tamarind water that you have becomes more sweet. But
Yeah.
it's very interesting because I found Mumbai food in general to be very spicy, or Maharashtra food, not street food, but food in general to be staple food to be pretty spicy. So it's very interesting how with fuchka, when it moves from fuchka to pani puri, it becomes more sweet. But since we are, and I'm sure we'll come back to Calcutta, but since we are talking about the West, one of the things I really liked when I lived in Aurangabad was vada pav. I
Yeah.
would go every evening after office. I would go, and that would be my snack. And yeah, it's desi burger, and it's great. Do you like vada pav?
I mean, I would say, yeah, sure. I'm not like that big vada pav guy. Like, although if someone's lived in Bombay, you'll see that vada pav is probably sold at every nook and corner of the city. There is another. Uh, I do enjoy Bombay street food scene. There's something which is called tawa fried rice. So what they actually do is
Yeah.
once that food, once the pav bhaji and all those things are done, they they slowly bring in everything that is left and they start selling the tawa fried rice. It's actually really good. So if you've not tried it, and it's most of the places wherein I've tried it, it's like near one of those stations. So you get out of the local train, take the railings before you board the auto rickshaw, or maybe now it's Uber or whatever. You actually eat that tawa fried rice. Oh wow, it's something I can probably go and eat every single night.
Amazing. I see. I like the difference in passion moving from vada pav to tawa fried rice. Nice. Coming back to Calcutta again, do you like roll? Like chicken
Oh,
roll, egg roll, mutton roll?
oh man, like all sorts of roles. In fact, They also have like double chicken, single mutton, and single chicken, double mutton, and egg, double egg, like all those varieties. Too bad, too sad. So when I was studying in Calcutta, too bad that I didn't have all that money that I would be able to afford all this every single day. But whenever I had the opportunity, yeah, I never missed it.
Yeah, I mean, we can have a whole episode on the different types of roll in Calcutta, but I think my favorite was the one that you used to get in Zishan, which is in Park Circus.
Sure.
The paratha that they used was lachcha paratha, and it was just great. I liked hot kati roll in Park Street.
Sure.
But what was interesting was in the Jadavpur area, we
Yes.
used to get potato rolls for 8 rupees. I don't know if you've had a chance to have that. And that was cheap and filling, and that was great. So potato rolls was interesting. Obviously, you cannot compare it to a real roll like a hot kati roll or a Zishan, but it was great. What are some of your other favorite types of street food?
So definitely, and I had a point like potato roll. I think they used to call it veg roll at some places, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
uh,
the difference was I've never seen any other place that serves like potatoes in veg roll. Like normally in veg roll, you would have like cabbage and cucumber and all that
yes,
stuff. But I think potato was a Jadavpur specialty.
yeah. As far as street food is concerned, I would say in Calcutta, lots and lots of biryani, lots and lots of momo, considerable amount of dosas. These would be the ones, and of course, like I mean, we have all those small places open on the street wherein you can go and get your march bhat for like 10, 12, 15 rupees, which were probably one of the best and golden days of life.
Yeah, another interesting story. So again, I'm moving north now. When I worked for Indian Oil, we spent a couple of months in Dehradun for some work. But when we were going from Delhi to Dehradun, um, or I think we were in Dehradun and we were going from Dehradun somewhere, I forget. But on the roadside, you had these dhabas where they would hang these, full pieces of chicken. So I remember this one day we were going on this trip, and there was me, this other colleague of mine, and this other girl who was also a colleague, right? And this girl was vegetarian.
Yes.
And me and this other guy were like hardcore non-vegetarians, and we were famished since morning. We hadn't had any food for whatever reason. So we decided to stop at this dhaba, and this person just took these pieces of chicken out from the sheik, and they put it in the furnace and cooked this amazing butter chicken with tandoori roti. It was great, like proper street food. I don't think the vegetarian girl really enjoyed the meal, but it was one of the best butter chickens I've had.
Yeah, so from butter chicken, I would say my best experience would be on the highways. You have dhabas. So
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Like you can probably go to one of those really classy fine dining restaurants. But if you think about, um, I've traveled in bus quite a lot in my life. So let's say I'm traveling from one city to the other, and the bus stops somewhere in between at about 9 o'clock at night. Oh my gosh, like that chicken masala that you can eat along with butter naan. I just don't I just don't think any restaurant can match it. And that's why it's like, and they would also say things like, "Haan, isko chicken masala dena, malai marke," or something like that,
Yeah, yeah.
which is only a dhaba language. I can assure you on that.
That's so funny. So since we've kind of moved from street food to like a little more heavy food, let
Yes.
me tell you about some of the Saturday routines that I used to have. Sometimes during the college days, sometimes when I was working for Indian Oil and I would come down every few weekends. So in the evenings, we would go to Park Street. Me and my friends, my cousins, we had this group. We would sometimes go to Park Street, and we would start with Ollie Pub. So we would go to Ollie Pub and have a few drinks for cheap because, like, I think that's one of the pretty cheap bars and iconic bars in Calcutta as well. So we would have a couple of drinks there, and then we would have like a roll, a hot cutty roll in Park Street. Then we would go to someplace else, and by then we would be like pretty full and pretty buzzed. So we would go listen to music, order a big pitcher of beer, which we would share. And then after that, we would end up going to probably Mocambo or Peter Cat and then have more food and
Oh,
drinks.
wow.
So
Wow.
it was not easy on the pocket, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so you mentioned a lot of food here. So chelo kebab at Peter Cat, Calcutta. Then you have one of the other things that I think I forgot while we were speaking about is it is puri sabzi, right? So think about like puri sabzi going and getting it on a on a thela when you can eat like puri sabzi. Oh wow, like that's something which I don't think I've eaten puri in a while, but oh, I would whenever I go to Calcutta next, I'm sure I'm going to try that.
Nice. So another thing that when I lived in Assam, one of the kind of street food that so it was not specific to Assam,
Yes.
but there used to be this mithai shop, and I used to live in Digboy, which is a very small town. And there was this mithai shop, and we would go and we would have all these, random things. It could be samosa, it could be puri sabzi, it could be kachori, it could be even bread pakora. But they didn't have the chutney with the samosa. So, or sometimes it would get over for whatever reason. So then what they would do is they would give the syrup from the rasgulla
Oh wow.
as like a chutney. So it was a very makeshift thing, but it worked. So that was a very interesting thing. But one of the other things that we saw in Assam was we used to go to this, uh, it was a lodge, I think, but it was all tribal food. Like it was made with like tribal herbs and spices. It was pretty bland and it was so good. So
Mhm.
that was something very interesting that I got in Assam.
Wow. Yeah.
But I didn't. What are some of the more risky street, foods that you had?
I wouldn't say risky, but I can actually say different. So so couple of examples I'll give. So Gujarat, I've traveled a lot within Gujarat also. It's a very different place. The vibe is different and the food is very, very different. And so Gujarati food is actually also a little on the sweeter side. So that's something which you'll be like, oh, okay, this is good. So you'll really like it the first 2 3 days, and after that you'll be like, oh my gosh, I probably want to go back to my house. I'm not dissing any food, but it's, you just grow, or you just grow with a specific variation. And one of the other places wherein I went, I remember going to Tirupati with my parents a long time ago. And oh, that was a fantastic experience in itself, because the food that you got there was very different. So that's probably my only experience of even eating something close to mm, an authentic South Indian food. Like you can have dosas, but I personally don't consider dosa to be a South Indian food, just because it is mm, so popular in the country. Mm, Everywhere you get dosas, but yeah, these would be a couple of my, and I generally like to keep it to tried and tested. So I'm probably not one of those guys who will give you an interesting response to this question.
For me, I think the riskiest food that I had was frogs. So in India, I've never had frogs, but when I moved to Singapore, I did have frog a few times. It was okay. It was more like a tender version of chicken. So it was like, I didn't really care much about it. I had the chance to eat turtles, but
Yes.
I never did because, as you know, I like to scuba dive, and the turtle's like one of my favorite animals. So I never, like, I couldn't accept it from the bottom of my heart to eat that. But other than that, like, when I went to other parts of Asia, I didn't try insects because by then my transformation of trying to eat less non-vegetarian food had already started.
Sure.
And it's still a constant struggle. Like I still have a lot of non-veg, but someday I want to move out of that. But it's a struggle. But yeah, I try not to have any other questionable types of meat. But yeah, so that was a very interesting discussion, Appy. Any parting thoughts?
No, I think we should actually do this again. And we probably can speak about how food habits change when you move from one place to the other, and sometimes it might get a little difficult. So if you are the one who probably moves around cities, how difficult is it to keep adjusting to the new place in terms of the food? So probably something on those lines, but we'll also take in some of the views from some of the responses from our viewers into what they would like to hear.
Yeah, I agree with that. Viewers, if you like Appy's idea, please comment below. Or if you have any other ideas, please comment below. Like, share, subscribe. And this is Stumbling and Fumbling. This is Arjun and Appy, and we'll come back to you with more episodes. Bye-bye.